You'd been the devoted girl who'd secretly loved your childhood friend for 10 years, only to be abandoned by him 3 separate times in that burning building. Even when you'd had a fever for 3 days, it still couldn't compare to his junior's mild cold, and he even forced you to apologize to her in public for her sake. But when you finally gave up and chose to walk away, he suddenly went crazy and wouldn't let you go. All because he found the diary where you'd hidden your years of secret love. My childhood friend, Jason, acted different around the new junior. Everyone said the aloof campus prince had finally fallen for someone. That day, she and I were trapped in the fire together. He didn't hesitate, he carried her out first. My 7-year crush ended right there. But later, when another guy confessed to me, Jason grabbed my wrist and held on tight, his voice low and tense. Moving on that fast? Weren't you into me? I waited under the teaching building for over half an hour before Jason finally came out. Jason! I ran up to him. He lifted a hand and brushed the back of it against my flushed cheek, frowning. How long have you been standing here? More than half an hour. Jason took my wrist and dragged me into a shaded pavilion ahead. You trying to get yourself roasted? He let out a lazy scoff, cupping my face to cool me down. I leaned into his cool palms, enjoying the chill before speaking. We're free this Saturday. Want to go to the aquarium? Jason didn't know I planned to confess that day. His hands paused. I already made plans with someone. Ask somebody else. A bad feeling churned inside me. I asked carefully, Who are you going with? Jessica. That was the name I'd been hearing constantly from him lately, his direct junior. Rumors were everywhere. The famously distant, untouchable Jason had been strangely attentive to her. Everyone said the monk-like campus idol had finally fallen for someone. Watching his back as he walked away, I suddenly had a feeling my carefully planned confession was doomed. On Saturday, I still went to the aquarium alone. But I never expected to run into Jason and Jessica there. Why are you here? Jason looked up at me. I glanced at the matching dolphin bracelets on their wrists and forced a smile. I told you days ago I was coming today. Maybe my tone was off, because Jason's face immediately darkened. He looked at me like he was scolding me, like I was the one acting out. Jessica blinked and smiled sweetly. Senior, why don't we go together? Before I could refuse, she looped her arm through mine. Moments later, I regretted not pushing her off. Passing a booth, the vendor stopped Jason and Jessica. He grinned at the two of them. Couples get a free limited edition dolphin plush. The air froze instantly. He'd probably assumed they were a couple because they wore matching bracelets, and I didn't. Jessica tugged Jason's sleeve. Sorry, he misunderstood, Senior. Jason asked her, You like the plush? She didn't answer, just stared at it with bright, sparkling eyes. A moment later, I watched Jason agree to join the event. It was simple enough. The guy had to carry the girl in a princess hold and walk a lap around the venue. I stood there and watched Jason lift Jessica effortlessly. The crowd around them began whispering and cheering. Someone even pulled out a phone to sneak photos. Jason noticed and pulled Jessica into his chest to shield her face, then glared at the person taking pictures. His protectiveness was obvious. My nose stung. In the 10 years I'd known Jason, he had never once carried me, hadn't even piggybacked me. In high school, when I twisted my ankle, all he did was wait with me for my dad to pick me up. His tone had been casual. Don't even think about making me carry you. I don't hold girls unless they're my girlfriend. I wondered whether he had forgotten saying that, or if he already saw Jessica as his girlfriend. I wanted to storm off, but I'd also been looking forward to the dolphin show, so I swallowed the tightness in my chest and tried to ignore the two of them beside me. Jason knew I loved dolphins too, but he didn't even ask if I wanted the plush. During the show, a dolphin leapt and crashed back into the pool, splashing water everywhere. We were the closest, there was no time to dodge. Jason stood between me and Jessica and instinctively shielded her, blocking most of the splash for her. I was soaked through. Are you okay? Did you get splashed? Jason didn't care about the water on himself. He looked at Jessica in panic. The pool water's cold. If it got you, you'll catch a cold again. Jessica hurried to wipe his forehead with tissues. I'm fine, Senior. You wipe yours first. Only when a staff member rushed over and handed me a towel did anyone glance my way. Sorry, miss. The railing's been loose, so it didn't block the splash. Thank you. Only then did Jason and Jessica turn around, as if realizing I'd also been drenched. Senior, do you need tissues? Jessica asked timidly. I ignored her and wiped the water off myself. Jennifer, she's talking to you. Didn't you hear? Jason's voice dropped cold. I took a breath, holding back the sting in my eyes, and looked straight at him. I'm holding a towel. You can't see whether I need tissues? Jason's gaze chilled. What are you throwing a tantrum for? Jessica just asked you something. Was that so hard to answer? Can you drop the princess attitude? His tone was icy, laced with mockery. Your parents may spoil you. No one else has to. Apologize. He looked at me with detached authority. Jessica stepped in. It's fine, she said lightly. I've been used to things like this since I was a kid. Because of my family background, teachers and classmates never liked me. Being pushed out, it's normal for me. Jason looked upset and was about to say something, but Jessica cut him off quickly. Senior, your clothes are soaked. Let me take you to dry them. And with that, without sparing me a glance, she dragged him away. I stood frozen, the water dripping from my hair mixed with tears on my cheeks. I wiped my face quietly and walked out of the aquarium alone. Maybe it was the sudden weather change that day, or the cold wind. I went home and came down with a high fever. I didn't return to school until Monday. Jason called once, but I missed it. I didn't reply to his texts either, so he came straight to my house. He walked into my room like he owned the place. Fever gone? As he spoke, he reached out to check my forehead. I hadn't expected much. I didn't think he was actually here out of concern, but I also hadn't expected him to come accuse me. I turned my head away. I'm fine. Did you need something? His hand froze midair. Jennifer? What's that supposed to mean? Leaning against my wardrobe, he looked down at me. Don't tell me you're still mad about that day. What right do you have to be angry? We weren't the ones at fault. A wave of exhaustion washed over me. Then what do you want? I did make a mistake agreeing to go around the aquarium with them. Jason's eyes stayed flat, emotionless. He didn't let me off. When you're better, go apologize to Jessica yourself. Why? My fingers clenched under the blanket. Jason let out a low laugh. Because your parents are asking my family for help. My dad's deciding whether to acquire your parents' bankrupt company. You don't want me to bring this up to them directly, do you? I sat up and stared at him without blinking. Tears streamed uncontrollably down my face. Jason, we've known each other for 10 years. You're really using this against me? He frowned and looked away. Because of your pointless outburst that day, Jessica got scared you were mad at her. She didn't even dry off before coming to find you. She caught a cold afterward and was on medication for 3 days. Aren't you responsible for that? Hearing that, my tears just stopped. I'd had a fever for 3 days. But in Jason's eyes, it still didn't matter as much as his junior's cold. And somehow the blame circled back to me. I had no choice. If I refused, he'd just go to my parents. It made no difference. I blinked and nodded. I understand. Jason stared for 2 seconds, then his tone softened abruptly. Jennifer, I'm not trying to give you a hard time. I just want you to learn to take responsibility for your actions. I didn't answer. I covered myself with the blanket, shutting out everything I didn't want to hear. After I recovered and went back to school, I ran into Jason and Jessica. I walked straight up to Jessica and looked her in the eye. I'm sorry, Jessica. I shouldn't have snapped at you that day. I didn't control my temper. She smiled gently. It's okay, Senior. I don't mind. I'm used to it anyway. That was the second time she emphasized she's used to being mistreated. Whether on purpose or not, I didn't care anymore. I gave her a polite, empty smile and turned to leave. Jason caught my wrist as I passed. You're better now? I pulled away immediately and stepped back. Yeah, my voice was calm. I realized I'd been delusional to think Jason saw me differently. I shouldn't have expected anything. Jason looked at me, his eyes dark and searching. What's wrong with you? I shook my head, my voice slipping into a polite distance I couldn't quite control. It's nothing. I'm heading to the library, so I won't bother you two. Since I couldn't afford to provoke Jason anymore, avoiding him was the safest choice. His expression tightened with impatience. What's with the attitude? I didn't understand. I'd stepped aside so they could have their little moment, yet he was still upset. Behind him, Jessica's eyes flicked toward me, dark for a split second. Before I could get a closer look, Jason spoke again. You never change. You still don't know how to respect people. He looked at me with disappointment, then turned away with Jessica. After that, I didn't reach out to Jason once. He didn't either, probably busy keeping Jessica company. The first few days, it hurt. Sometimes I thought of how close we used to be, how good he once was to me. I thought this Cold War would drag on forever, that he and I would never cross paths again. But Jessica wasn't satisfied with that. Friday night, it was past 10:30 when I left the library. The road was empty. Not so coincidentally, I walked straight into a bullying scene. 2 girls were holding Jessica down, while another slapped her across the face over and over. Why's your mouth so damn cheap? I brought my boyfriend back to the dorm. What's it to you? Why'd you go report me to the counselor? Did it affect you? Huh? Jessica's face was swollen. This was the only path back to my dorm. I hid a short distance away, emotionless, just wishing they'd finish so I could go home. Luckily, after a few minutes seeing Jessica didn't fight back, they lost interest. They tossed her aside and left. Enjoyed the show? Jessica suddenly said from the ground. I walked out calmly. I'm not interested in your business. I was just passing by. She let out a soft laugh. You think they hit me because I tattled to the counselor? She tucked a lock of hair behind her ear. They hit me because her boyfriend was flirting with me. I'm not sad, she added. At least it proves that all I have to do is stand there and guys will line up for me, including Jason. She smiled. A chill crawled up my spine. That's got nothing to do with me. Jessica clearly wasn't as innocent as she looked. I didn't want to hear her twisted theories. I turned to leave, but she suddenly lurched up like she'd lost her mind and grabbed me. You like Jason, don't you? But what can you do? He likes me. She looked at me and curled her lips in a smile. She'd hit my one soft spot. I flung her hand off. Are you out of your mind? Suddenly, Jessica staggered backward like she couldn't stand and fell hard to the ground. I froze. I hadn't even used force. Jennifer! My whole body stiffened. I'd know that voice anywhere. Jason rushed past me to Jessica, helping her up. He gently brushed her hair aside and saw the bruises on her face. Then he looked at me, his gaze pitch black. This was absurd. I didn't touch her. Don't look at me like that. Jason ignored me and quietly asked Jessica, Did she hit you? Jessica gave a weak, pitiful smile, eyes brimming with tears. Don't, Senior. It's fine. She didn't say yes, but she didn't deny it either. I let out a dry laugh. Believe what you want. I turned to leave, but Jason blocked my way. I'm not apologizing, Jason. I hadn't done anything, why should I? His voice was flat, emotionless. Okay. I froze, instincts prickling. Jessica, come here, he said. Hit her back. I stared at Jason, trying to confirm again and again, was this really the boy I'd grown up with? Jason lowered his eyes to mine. Your parents spoiled you. Now you're entitled and even bully other people. My hands curled into fists at my sides, my face draining of color. You think I could do that to her by myself? But he didn't believe me, he thought I was just making excuses. I don't want to lay hands on you, he said coldly. I looked numbly at Jessica and rasped, What do you even want? She suddenly broke down crying. She stepped toward me and slapped me hard. You're rich, you're a princess! I can barely afford tuition. If you hit me, how could I ever hit you back? How could I afford the hospital bills? You're mad about the aquarium that day? Then say it. You and Jason are childhood sweethearts. I stay out of your way, isn't that enough? Why did you have to hit me? She screamed. Just because I'm poor, not as well off as you, so you get to treat me like dirt? My anger trembled through me. I raised my hand to slap her back, but Jason seized my wrist. Jennifer. He looked at me like he didn't recognize me. You need to learn your lesson. With that, he flung me to the ground. I watched their backs as they walked away and whispered, Jason, these 10 years? I might as well have known a dog. But tonight's not over. The moon hung dim. He paused for just a moment but never looked back. That road was too remote, no cameras. And those 3 girls would never admit they hit her first. I had no way to defend myself. It took a long time before I could get up. I walked back to the dorm in silence. Jason was standing under a street lamp, looking grim. I didn't spare him a glance, just kept walking. He stepped in front of me, blocking my path. Get out of my way, I said weakly. He shoved a box of ointment into my hand. Then he lifted a hand, trying to touch the red mark on my cheek. I turned away. He frowned, lips pressed tight. You beat Jessica like that, and I only let her slap you once. Jennifer, stop throwing a fit. Before he could say more, his phone rang. When he answered, I heard the sugary voice clearly. Senior Jason, my wounds hurt so much. Can you come keep me company? Jason hung up and immediately turned to leave. A few steps later, as if remembering me, he looked back, tone soft and coaxing. Remember to put the medicine on. Didn't you want to try that new wonton place outside campus? I'll take you tomorrow. He seemed in a hurry and ran off before I could respond. I looked down at the ointment in my hand. My fingers loosened and it fell to the ground. I didn't look at it again as I walked away. I once wanted to go to that wonton place with Jason, but he just brushed me off impatiently. Can't you go by yourself? My schedule's packed. Later, when I finally went on my own, I saw through the window Jason and Jessica sitting together inside. He said he was busy, but he had time for her. I never went back again. By now, I had no desire to. And Jason probably only mentioned it casually. The next day, he didn't come find me. For once, I was relieved. He used my parents' situation as leverage constantly. It felt like a mountain crushing me. But going around Jason and dealing directly with Jessica, That I could do. That day, we happened to have class on the same floor. After class, I dragged her somewhere empty and slapped her twice, clean, sharp. I hit you. What now? Call the police? I pulled out my phone, typed 911, and handed it to her. Aren't you afraid I'll tell Jason? She hissed, clutching her face. Go ahead, I said. If you call him, he won't touch me. He'll only tell you to hit me. I pointed to the security camera above us. And there's footage. I hit you, I can pay for your medical bills. Can you? Didn't you say you can barely afford tuition? Besides, she wouldn't dare trouble Jason too many times, afraid he'd get tired of her. Without him, she had no one. Jessica glared at me, unwilling. I let out a cold laugh and walked away. I thought that would be the end of it, but I'd underestimated how vengeful she was. When I was trapped in the fire, barely clinging to life, I did regret slapping her, if only for a second. That day, I was helping a senior with a chemistry experiment. He went to another building for materials, leaving me to tidy up. The building hadn't been maintained for years. The windows and doors were faulty. I was putting out the alcohol lamps when Jessica walked in and shut the door behind her. You're the one spreading the rumors, right? I didn't have the patience for her nonsense. I glanced at the door irritably. The lock's broken. Once you close it, it won't open from inside. She didn't listen. She just stared at me. Everyone's cursing me now. Happy? I'd heard the rumors that she'd flirted with someone's boyfriend. Honestly, she had to know those 3 girls from that night were the real culprits. But she didn't dare provoke those borderline delinquent girls, so she came after me instead. I laughed under my breath. Paranoid much? Jessica, stop coming to me for punishment. If Jason wants to baby you, that's his problem. But if you push me too far, I'll do whatever it takes and I won't let you off. Jessica bit her lips so hard it looked like she might break the skin. I paused. She looked unhinged. Before I could react, she suddenly shoved me with all her strength. I stumbled back, knocking over one of the alcohol lamps. The 3 still burning lamps collided and shattered, sparks bursting out. Fire splashed onto the curtain. The window shook violently in its frame, leaving a huge gap. The dry wind fed the flames, they exploded upward instantly. I couldn't stop it. Within seconds, the curtain blazed and fire spread across the room. The door was right beside the window. Jessica and I were forced into opposite corners. I was in the one closest to the flames. She darted to the far corner. 2 tables stood between us. Something flammable was stored under the tables. Once the fire touched it, it erupted, forming a waist-high wall of flame. Trembling, I pulled out my phone and forced myself to dial 119. Jessica was terrified too. She immediately called Jason. Black smoke billowed out the window, drawing a crowd below. Some called the fire department, others called the counselors. No one dared go in. Except Jason. But the fire was already out of control. Senior, I'm here, Jessica shouted. Through the flames, I met Jason's eyes. Jason, please help me. Forget everything that had happened before. I acted on pure instinct. I was terrified. I didn't want to die. Jessica was far from the flames. She had time. But the burning light fixture above me was about to fall. Jason, could he, just this once, for the sake of the 10 years we knew each other, save me first? The door lock had warped in the heat, completely jammed. Someone had to break it down. Senior, I'm scared, Jessica sobbed. Jason snapped out of it and looked at me deeply. Jennifer, wait for me. Then he ran toward the back door. He chose to save Jessica first. When the burning light fixture fell, I had no time to dodge. As I slipped into unconsciousness, I saw Jason carrying Jessica out. That was the 3rd time he left me behind. I woke in pain, lying face down in a hospital bed so my back wouldn't touch the injuries. Jason sat beside me, eyes closed. The moment I moved, he jolted awake. Jennifer? He carefully helped me sit up. He knelt in front of me, exhaustion etched on his face, but he still forced a gentle smile. Do you want water? Are you hurting? I'll call the doctor. Where are my parents? My unused voice was hoarse. The acquisition deal is at a critical stage. They can't get away. I told them I'd take care of you. I stared at Jason for a long time. Jason, I had a dream. I dreamed of the earthquake in 4th grade when I was trapped in the stampede and couldn't get out. You were the one who pushed against the crowd, grabbed me, and pulled me out of the building. That day I almost got swept away by the crowd several times, but you held my hand so tightly you never let go. After that, I saw you as one of the most important people in my life. Jason's face drained of color. His lips trembled as he reached for my hand. I'm sorry, Jennifer. I'm sorry. It was all my fault. I pulled my hand away before he could touch me and continued in a calm voice. In the end, You really didn't have any obligation to save me first. Saving the person you like first, it's not wrong. But Jason, that doesn't mean I won't mind. He had no words, only stared at me helplessly. I spoke again, settling the last score. That night, I didn't hit Jessica. Believe me or don't. With no evidence, you chose to take her word for it, and I got slapped for nothing. I paid her back later, and today, I'm paying you back. I slowly lifted my hand, pain tugging at the wounds on my back. My lips were dry, but my heart was steady as a still lake. The slap landed hard. He took it without dodging, then looked at me with an expression so falsely remorseful and worried it made me sick. Be careful. You'll pull your wounds. I curled a mocking smile. Get out! Jason, don't appear in front of me again. This time, even using my parents against me won't work. Before Jason could answer, a voice came from the doorway. Senior, if you're already feeling better, could you please stay away from my boyfriend? He's not obligated to take care of you. Jessica stood there, giving me an embarrassed smile. So they were already together. Jason looked at me and opened his mouth as if to explain, but fell silent. Jessica, I said with a polite smile, take your boyfriend and leave. Watching you two for even one more second makes me sick. Then I looked at her. This girl who looked pure on the outside yet was rotten to the core. I looked straight into her eyes. Everyone has to take responsibility for what they've done, don't you think? The fact she could stand here provoking me meant the school hadn't dealt with the fire incident yet or hadn't gathered enough evidence. The lab camera was destroyed, but the hallway camera facing the door captured part of the scene. At the very least, it proved she pushed me first, causing me to knock over the alcohol lamp. She must have tampered with something. I lowered my gaze to the shadow she cast on the floor. She flinched visibly. Jessica, you can get scared too? Jason still came for a few days at first, but I never let him into the room. Eventually, he stopped coming. The burns on my back began to grow new skin. Every night, they hurt and itched until I could only fall asleep near dawn. Jessica either forgot my warning or never cared in the first place. One night, while I was trying not to scratch the new skin, sweat forming on my forehead, my phone lit up. I unlocked it. A photo from a strange number. Jason holding Jessica in his arms, kissing her. Honestly, I'd already let go of jealousy or envy. But Jessica, provoking me this openly, she'd finally crossed the line. Someone needed to pay the price. But before I could go after them, Jason appeared again. I'd told my parents I was going back to school to pack some things and would be resting at home for a while. I didn't know Jason was there listening. He decided to help me and went to my dorm to pack for me. That was when he found my diary, the one where I recorded every moment I liked him since I was 17. He ran to my house, stumbling all the way. He didn't even greet the housekeeper, something he'd never done before. He slammed open my door, eyes red, clutching that notebook. All my humiliation surfaced for a split second before I forced myself calm. The veins on his hand bulged around the notebook. You've liked me since you were 17? His gaze burned into me, intense and complicated. I met his eyes and said, but the moment you left me behind at the aquarium, I stopped liking you. And when you abandoned me the last time in the fire, everything was gone. My eyes stung, but only because I was mourning the quiet death of a girl's harmless crush. I didn't know, he whispered, voice hoarse. Jason walked to me step by step and knelt by the bed, frowning, dazed. I never noticed. Even passion, no matter how well hidden, leaks through the eyes. But you never looked at mine. Your eyes were always full of Jessica. I no longer felt like complaining. Don't look like that, Jason. You and Jessica are great together. Perfect match. Jason suddenly looked up, giving a bitter laugh. I don't think I like her that much. After she got hit, I started to feel something was off. She didn't seem like the girl I thought I knew. In Jason's eyes, Jessica was pure, gentle, innocent. But that slap she gave me revealed her vindictive true nature. The filter shattered. When someone you like does something that doesn't fit your fantasies, the feelings die quickly. See? He wasn't anything special either. The only reason he stayed with her was because he still clung to the fantasy of his little white flower. The filter just wasn't completely broken yet. Jason stared at me for a long time with an unreadable expression. No matter how cruelly I spoke, he accepted it all. In the end, he only left me with one cryptic line. Leaning against the door, he let out a bitter smile. Jennifer, what do I do? I think I've messed everything up. I owed him nothing, so all I wanted was for him to leave. Jason lifted my diary slightly and asked quietly, I haven't finished it yet. Can I borrow it for 2 more days? I shrugged. It's trash. Even if you give it back, I'll throw it away. A record of my love for a piece of trash was trash too. He lowered his head and murmured, barely audible, It's not. When my wounds healed enough, I returned to school. Everything I suffered needed an explanation. Jessica told Jason I'd hit her. I didn't care anymore whether he believed me or not. I didn't need to prove anything, but I wasn't going to let that slap go unpaid. I found the girl who'd hit Jessica that night. The enemy of my enemy isn't always a friend, but she can be a temporary ally. She gave me the information I wanted and bluntly admitted she was the one who spread the rumors about Jessica. She even used words like public bus. According to her, Jessica really had been juggling multiple guys, though she'd stopped recently, probably because she was officially with Jason. Jason vanished for several days. A week later, I finally saw him and Jessica together. Maybe I imagined it, but Jason looked hollow, and I noticed the red stain on his fingertips. It was the first time I'd ever seen him smoke. Jessica tried to hug him, but he dodged, so she settled for holding his hand. I watched from the shadows and sent the picture to several unfamiliar numbers. One of them belonged to the boyfriend of the girl who'd hit Jessica. Jessica herself had admitted she got beaten because she'd been flirting with him. He went to a neighboring school. The rest of the numbers belonged to guys she'd been involved with. Within half an hour, 3 of them showed up. Words turned into shoving, then one guy slapped Jessica hard enough to knock her to the ground. Her nose even started bleeding. Jason watched coldly the entire time. When Jessica was hit, he only frowned slightly. More and more people gathered, some filming and posting the videos online. Jessica's downfall began. And as for the missing lab footage, turns out the hallway camera had been hacked. One of the guys Jessica had strung along was a computer science student. He'd chased Jessica for 6 months with no progress. When everything blew up, Jessica offered him a relationship in exchange for hacking the school cameras and moving the fire footage. Yes, moving, not deleting. He'd kept a copy, afraid Jessica would betray him later. But she ruined herself before she even had the chance. He finally realized who she truly was and confessed everything, handing over the footage. Since he turned himself in, he only got a minor penalty. Jessica wasn't so lucky. Someone compiled all her misdeeds and posted them on Weibo. The scandal grew and drew public attention. Cheating, two-timing multiple guys, and worst of all, breaking the law. Calls for her expulsion grew louder and louder. In the end, the school couldn't withstand the pressure. Before the police took her away, they quietly asked her to withdraw. She once felt proud that so many boys liked her, but she choked on the consequences. Before leaving, she went to see Jason, and I happened to witness it. She clung to his sleeve, crying softly. "Don't break up with me. I never liked those boys. Nothing happened between us. I only liked you." But Jason simply pulled his sleeve back. "Jessica, I don't think I like you." His words stunned her. Jason lowered his eyes, voice detached. "Honestly, after hearing everything you did, I didn't feel anything. I always thought my ideal type was someone pure and gentle. And yes, you fit that, so I assumed I liked you. But lately, I realized I was wrong about so many things. Even if none of this happened, I still planned to break up with you. I'm sorry I let you misunderstand for so long." With every sentence, Jessica grew paler. Even after Jason left, she just stood there and cried harder, real agony, not an act. She paid the price for manipulating so many boys, only to fall hardest for one who didn't love her back. Jason later learned the truth about her injuries. Before I could seek him out, he showed up in front of me. He cornered me downstairs. "I misunderstood you, Jennifer. I was wrong." Then he suddenly grabbed my hand and slapped himself with it. I yanked my hand back, frowning. "Are you insane?" He stared at me stubbornly. "You can hit me as many times as you want," he murmured. "As long as you forgive me." Impossible. My refusal was absolute. "Jason, the damage you caused is irreversible. The scars on my back may not be directly your fault, but every time they itch when the weather changes, I remember the moment you left me to die." I let out a bitter laugh. "I can't get over it." I pushed past him and walked away. Behind me, his voice rose again. "Jennifer, I know saying this now will only make you hate me more, but I still have to say it. I've read your notebook over and over, reliving every moment you wrote about us. All those times you felt something for me. I felt them too. I just didn't understand it then. I thought it was how a brother cared for a younger sister." His voice was unsteady, but painfully sincere. "I think I liked you long ago, Jennifer. I just didn't realize." "No, you didn't. No one loves like that." What he felt was guilt, regret, the shock of learning I'd loved him for years, and the emotional mess he mistook for affection. But I didn't want to be entangled with him anymore. I walked away as if I hadn't heard a single word, my steps steady, my gaze straight ahead. But Jason was unusually persistent. The former Golden Boy seemed to have entered a very late rebellious phase, skipping classes, haunting bars, always carrying a pack of cigarettes. One day, my roommate dragged me to the sports field. I only realized what was happening when I saw the elaborate confession set up and dozens of eyes focused on me. I was the one being confessed to. The junior confessing to me, I barely remembered his face held a huge bouquet of Bulgarian roses, cheeks flushed as he stammered through his confession. The cheers around us grew louder. My rejection caught in my throat. If I refused now, he'd lose face in front of everyone. I stared at the flowers awkwardly, hesitating as I slowly lifted my hand when someone suddenly yanked my wrist hard. I was dragged into an empty corner. No chance to resist. Jason reeked of alcohol, but his eyes were cold and clear. His grip on my wrist hurt, refusing to let me go. His gaze pinned me in place, his words slicing like ice. Jennifer, don't tell me you're planning to say yes. You moved on this fast? Was your so-called love for me something you could drop just like that? Before he finished his last word, I slapped him across the face without hesitation. Bastard. Jason turned his head slightly, huffing a cold laugh. He pulled me toward him, our foreheads nearly touching. Jennifer, what do you want me to do so you'll forgive me? Tell me I'll do anything. His eyes were red, faintly wet. His words were desperate, but his behavior was still controlling, obsessive. Please, Jennifer, don't treat me like this. Looking at this boy so different from the one I used to know, my emotions calmed again. Jason, you left me behind for Jessica 3 times. If you can make those 3 times never happen, I'll forgive you. There was an unbridgeable gulf between us. His attempts to build a bridge were pointless. He stared at me, defeated, nothing left to argue. I finally pulled my hand free. Without waiting for his response, I turned and left. A few steps away, something occurred to me. I looked back. Jason was still standing there, staring at where I'd gone. Ever since he found that notebook, everything had reversed. The one left standing alone was him. But I didn't feel triumphant, only exhausted and suffocated by his clinginess. That winter felt endless. Before the break, my parents' acquisition deal wrapped up. We were moving out of our old villa. I could finally put some distance between me and Jason. It was the first thing that genuinely made me happy. I was so relieved I didn't even notice when he stopped showing up altogether. Until I received a call from Jason's mother. She was crying so hard she could barely speak. Jennifer, can you come see Aheng? Auntie really doesn't know what to do. Jason was injured. Burned. Jason's mother told me that half a month ago, he'd passed a residential building while out. A unit on the 3rd floor had caught fire. A girl was trapped inside, and the firefighters hadn't arrived. He rushed in like he'd gone mad and carried her out, but his entire arm suffered severe burns. Jennifer, Aheng has never let go of the guilt of not saving you in time. He must have been thinking of you, that's why he risked his life for a stranger. Jason's mother begged. Please, help Auntie. Come see him. I hated Jason, but I couldn't ignore the woman who had always been kind to me. Seeing him again filled me with complicated emotions. He was half reclined on the bed, weak and drained. Jennifer, I finally understand now. It hurts so much. The scars stretched from his arm up to his neck. Jason let out a faint smile. The first few nights, the pain kept me awake. When it finally healed, the itching started like 1,000 worms crawling under my skin. Yes, I remembered exactly what that felt like. Sometimes I thought, maybe I should just cut it off. He stared at his arm with a calmness that scared me. I rubbed my temples tiredly and sighed. Jason, stop doing these performative acts of guilt. Even if you save thousands of people from burning buildings, it has nothing to do with me. Can you undo my scars? Then what should I do, Jennifer? He asked blankly. Tell me, what should I do? I looked out at the sunlight, feeling a faint warmth. After a few seconds, I spoke slowly. Jason, when you like someone, it's supposed to make her happy, right? I turned my gaze back to him. But everything you've done only upsets me. It suffocates me. This kind of love is warped. If you keep this up, I might have to take a leave of absence just to avoid you. He froze almost imperceptibly at the mention of me leaving school. His fingers tightened around the blanket. Jason lowered his eyes and nodded. I won't bother you anymore. I'll try not to appear in front of you. Jennifer, can you not take a leave? His voice was small, humble, to the point of disappearing. I hated seeing him like this, like he was the victim. It made him look like the one who had suffered. I turned my head away and didn't answer, just repeated one last thing before leaving. Don't come near me again. I understand, Jason said. I didn't breathe normally until I stepped out of Jason's villa. The heaviness in my chest finally lifted. The warm noon sunlight fell over me, melting away the last of the cold. I stretched out my hand, feeling its warmth. The final trace of winter chill was fading. This winter finally felt like it was coming to an end.